Spina bifida.
Spinach.
Spinach.
Spinal.
Spinal.
Spinal injuries.
Spinal column.
Spinal column.
Spinal cord.
Spinal cord.
Spindle.
Spindle.
Spindly.
Spindly.
Spindly legs.
Spin doctor.
Spin doctor.
White House spin doctors.
Spin dryer.
Spin dryer.
Spine.
Spine.
Cactus spines.
Spine chilling.
Spine chilling.
Spineless.
Spineless.
A bunch of spineless politicians.
Spinet.
Spinet.
Spine tingling.
Spine tingling.
The festival opened with Nick Rogue's latest spine-tingling film.
Spinnaker.
Spinnaker.
Spinner.
Spinner.
Spinny.
Spinny.
Spinning. Spinning.
Spinning wheel.
Spinning wheel.
Spin-off.
Spin-off.
Laser research has had important spin-offs for eye surgery.
Spinster.
Spinster.
Spiny.
Spiny.
Spiny sea urchins. Spiny bushes.
Spiral.
Spiral.
Unemployment rose and the city went into a spiral of decline.
The company is in a downward spiral.
The damaged plane spiraled to the ground. Crime has spiraled out of control. The spiraling cost of legal services.
Spiral bound.
Spiral bound.
Spiral notebook.
Spiral notebook.
Spiral staircase.
Spiral staircase.
Spire.
Spire.
Spirit.
Spirit.
I'm 85, but I still feel young in spirit. She is a strong and independent spirit.
Cooper was still in high spirits after winning the race.
His spirits were so low that he refused to answer his phone.
The warm morning sun lifted our spirits. She wrote poetry while she was in the hospital to keep her spirits up.
My spirits sank when I saw the mess they'd left.
Although Laurie is dead, I can feel his spirit with me.
An evil spirit.
Sandra is small, but she makes up for it with great spirit.
A young team with strong fighting spirit. When they took away his freedom, they broke his spirit.
You've got to approach this meeting in the right spirit.
The spirit of cooperation between the two sides.
Tourism has not destroyed the spirit of Bali.
His beliefs conflicted with the spirit of the age.
I can't come to your wedding, but I'll be there in spirit.
Judith couldn't really enter into the spirit of the occasion.
Thoreau believed that his actions were in the spirit of American institutions.
Miller's actions may not be actually illegal, but they have violated the spirit of the law.
After his speech, Jackson was spirited away through a back door.
Spirited.
Spirited.
A spirited and energetic girl.
Spiritless.
Spiritless.
Spirit level.
Spirit level.
Spiritual.
Spiritual.
Painting helps fill a spiritual need for beauty.
Spiritual values.
Islam was inspired by the teachings of the spiritual leader Muhammad.
Spiritualism.
Spiritualism.
Spirituality.
Spirituality.
Spit.
Spit.
Nick rolled down his window and spat. A group of fans spat on the players as they left the field. Billy stood up slowly, rubbed his jaw, and spat blood. Diana tasted her martini and quickly spat it out. You don't need an umbrella, it's only spitting. You don't need an umbrella, it's only spitting. Shut up, spat Maria furiously. Come on, Jean, spit it out.
A log fire was crackling and spitting in the hearth. I was a difficult child, always crying and spitting up my food. On one occasion, our daughter spat up all over him.
Sam is the dead spit of his dad. It was Christmas, so Ellen gave the dining room a little extra spit and polish.
Spitball.
Spitball.
Spite.
Spite.
We went out in spite of the rain.
Kelly loved her husband, in spite of the fact that he drank too much.
She broke it just out of spite. The picture made her laugh in spite of herself. The neighbours throw things over the garden wall just to spite us.
Spiteful.
Spiteful.
She was spiteful and unkind both to Isabel and to her son.
A spiteful remark.
Spitting image.
Spitting image.
Spittle.
Spittle.
Spittoon.
Spittoon.
Spiv.
Spiv.
Splash.
Splash.
The ocean splashed against the pier.
He splashed cold water on his face.
The children were splashing about in the pool. She ran up the drive, splashing through the puddles.
The gunman's picture was splashed across the front page.
We splashed out on a new kitchen.
Last year, Robert splashed out more than £1 million to buy a new home.
Rachel fell into the river with a loud splash.
There were splashes of paint all over my clothes.
Russell's new show made a big splash in New York.
A cup of coffee with a splash of brandy.
Splashback.
Splashback.
Splashdown.
Splashdown.
Splashguard.
Splashguard.
Splashy.
Splashy.
A splashy orange shirt.
Splat.
Splat.
Big raindrops splattered against the windscreen.
Splatter.
Splatter.
The room was splattered with blood. Paint splattered all over the carpet.
Splay.
Splay.
He sat with his legs splayed out in front of him.
Spleen.
Spleen.
Obviously you're annoyed, but that doesn't give you the right to vent your spleen on me.
Splendid.
Splendid.
A splendid idea. A splendid opportunity. The staff are doing a splendid job. All the rooms have splendid views. A splendid cathedral. I'll see you tomorrow then. Splendid. The house sits in splendid isolation on top of a steep hill. A splendidly equipped new sports centre. The team played splendidly.
Splendour.
Splendor.
We marvelled at the splendour of the scenery.
The palace has now been restored to its original splendour.
The splendours of the imperial court.
Splenetic.
Splenetic.
Splice.
Splicer.
Splicer.
Spliff.
Spliff.
Splint.
Splint.
Splinter.
Splinter.
I've got a splinter in my finger.
Splinters of glass.
The once powerful Communist Party has splintered into hundreds of pieces.
Splinter group.
Splinter group.
Split.
Split.
It was feared that the issue would split the church. The party is split over the issue of immigration.
The government appears deeply split on this issue.
The Pan-Africanist Congress split from the ANC in 1959.
The war has split the nation in two.
Can you split into groups of 3 now?
The book is split into 6 sections.
The branch split under their weight.
One of the boxes had split open. The board had split in 2.
Split the pineapple down the middle.
Profits will be split between 3 major charities.
He agreed to sell the car and split the proceeds with his brother.
The money will have to be split 3 ways.
We agreed to split the cost.
She fell against a table and split her lip.
The force of the blow nearly split his head open.
He split from his wife last year.
The band split 2 years ago.
Come on, let's split.
This is just splitting hairs.
OK, let's split the difference, and I'll give you £20. A huge lump of rock had split off from the cliff face. The group split away from the Green Party and formed the Environmental Alliance. This part of the business has now been split off from the main company.
Don't you dare split on us!
Steve's parents split up when he was 4.
I thought she'd split up with her boyfriend.
Why would she try to split us up?
Please don't split up when we get to the museum. The teacher split up the class into 3 groups.
The house has now been split up into individual flats.
A long split in the sleeve of his coat. The argument could lead to a damaging split in the party.
A deep split within the government.
A split between the radicals and the moderates within the group.
The union is desperate to avoid a split over this issue.
Rumours of a marriage split. She seems to be getting over her recent split with her fiancé.
In a publishing deal, the average split used to be 50-50 between writer and publisher.
A 3-way split in the profits.
The traditional split between the state and church.
Split ends.
Split ends.
Split infinitive.
Split infinitive.
Split level.
Split level.
Split personality.
Split personality.
Split screen.
Split screen.
A split screen movie.
Split second.
Split second.
For a split second, the 2 men hesitated.
In that split second, Graham knew he had won.
It was a technique which required split-second timing.
Split shift.
Split shift.
Split ticket.
Split ticket.
Split ticket voting.
Splitting.
Splitting.
Splodge.
Splodge.
Splodges of colour.
Splosh.
A sploshing sound.
Splotch.
Splotch.
Splurge.
Splurge.
Within a couple of months, I'd splurged about £2,500 on clothes.
Splutter.
Splutter.
But, I can't believe... How could you? She spluttered.
Katie was spluttering with rage.
Bill started coughing and spluttering.
The engine spluttered into life.
Spod.
Spod.
Spoil. Spoil.
The whole park is spoiled by litter. We didn't let the incident spoil our day. I don't want to spoil your fun. Why do you always have to spoil everything? She's an only child, but they didn't really spoil her. His mother and sisters spoil him rotten. You'll have to let me spoil you on your birthday.
Go on, spoil yourself. Have another piece of cake.
Food will spoil if the temperature in your freezer rises above 8 degrees centigrade.
They tried to make more than a fair share of the spoils.
Spoil heaps.
Spoilage.
Spoilage.
Spoiled.
Spoiled.
Ben was a spoilt brat. Their children were spoiled rotten.
Spoiler.
Spoiler.
Spoil sport.
Spoil sport.
Don't be such a spoil sport.
Spoilt.
Spoilt.
Spoke.
Spoke.
Spoken.
Spoken.
Pupils' understanding of the spoken word.
A spoken word CD.
A softly spoken young man.
Spokesman.
Spokesman. A White House spokesman. A spokesman for the victims' families.
Spokesperson.
Spokesperson.
Spokeswoman.
Spokeswoman.
Sponge.
Sponge.
Clean the rug by sponging it gently.
She stood on the bath mat and sponged herself down.
These people are just sponging off the taxpayers.
I'll go and sponge this juice off my dress.
Just sponge the paint on, like this. Sponge bag.
Sponge bag.
Sponge cake.
Sponge cake.
Sponge pudding.
Sponge pudding.
Sponger.
Sponger.
Spongy.
Spongy.
The earth was soft and spongy underfoot.
Sponsor.
Sponsor.
Eastman Kodak is a major sponsor of the Olympics.
Corporate sponsors.
You cannot get a work visa without an American sponsor.
The competition was sponsored by British Airways.
Government-sponsored projects.
The bank had offered to sponsor him at university. U.S.-sponsored peace talks.
Sponsorship.
Sponsorship.
The expedition is looking for sponsorship from one of the major banks.
A $5 million sponsorship deal. Commercial sponsorships.
Private sector sponsorship of sport.
Spontaneous.
Spontaneous.
The crowd gave a spontaneous cheer. My spontaneous reaction was to run away. She laughed, spontaneously.
Spontaneous combustion.
Spontaneous combustion.
Spoof.
Spoof.
The play is a spoof on Shakespeare's tragedy Julius Caesar.
A spoof documentary.
Spook.
Spook.
I'm not easily spooked.
Spooky.
Spooky.
A spooky old house.
Spooky stories.
The candlelight created a rather spooky atmosphere.
Spooky. Spool.
Spool.
Spoon.
Spoon.
2 spoons of sugar. Spoon the mixture carefully into the bowls.
Spoonerism.
Spoonerism.
Spoon feed.
Spoon feed.
I don't believe in spoon-feeding students.
Spoonful.
Spoonful.
2 spoonfuls of sugar, please.
Spore.
Spore.
Sporadic.
Sporadic.
There has been sporadic violence downtown.
The fighting continued sporadically for several days.
Spore.
Spore.
Sporran.
Sporin.
Sport.
Sport.
My favourite sports are tennis and swimming.
A sports team. All students are encouraged to take part in a sport. He picked up the newspaper and turned to the sports pages. Why is there so much sport on TV? I always hated sport at school.
The sport of falconry.
A demonstration by people opposed to blood sports.
Be a sport and lend me a bike.
See you later, sport.
Did she torment him merely for sport?
Eric was sporting a new camel hair coat.
The sight of dolphins sporting amidst the waves.
Sport coat.
Sport coat.
Sporting.
Sporting.
The college offers a wide range of sporting activities. One of the major sporting events of the year. A great sporting achievement. Britain's sporting heroes.
A sporting goods store.
It was very sporting of them to wait until the rest of our team had arrived.
I think we've got a sporting chance of winning.
They sportingly agreed to postpone the race until our boat was repaired.
Sport jacket.
Sport jacket.
Sports bra.
Sports bra.
Sports car.
Sports car.
Sportscast.
Sportscast.
Sportscaster.
Sportscaster.
Sports centre.
Sports center.
Sports coat.
Sports coat.
Sports day.
Sports day.
Sports shirt.
Sports shirt.
Sports jacket.
Sports jacket.
Sportsman.
Sportsman.
He's a very keen sportsman.
A talented all-round sportsman.
Sportsmanlike.
Sportsmanlike.
As a club, we try to encourage sportsmanlike behaviour.
Sportsmanship.
Sportsmanship.
His sportsmanship and style of play are refreshing.
We try to teach the kids good sportsmanship.
Sportsperson.
Sportsperson.
Sports shirt.
Sports shirt.
Sportswear.
Sportswear.
Sportswoman.
Sportswoman.
A great all-round sportswoman.
Sports writer.
Sports rider.
Sport utility vehicle.
Sport utility vehicle.
Sporty.
Sporty.
A sporty jacket and skirt.
The new model is slightly more sporty.
Spot.
Spot.
A nice quiet spot on the beach.
I chose a spot well away from the road.
A small cottage in an idyllic spot.
Why do they want to build a house on this particular spot?
The exact spot where the king was executed.
An ideal spot for a picnic.
A white cat with brown spots.
2 spots of colour appeared in Jill's cheeks.
There was a big damp spot on the wall.
A few spots of blood. He had a high fever and was covered in spots. Becca was very self-conscious about her spots. He had to make a decision on the spot.
We ought to find out the views of the people on the spot. If running outside doesn't appeal, try jogging on the spot indoors. He was given a 30-second spot just after the news.
A guest spot on The Tonight Show.
The budget has a regular spot on the agenda.
Manchester United are still in the top spot after today's win. I carried on with my questions, sensing a weak spot in his story.
I've always had a weak spot for chocolate.
This puts the chairman in a very tight spot.
I hope you can help get me out of a tight spot.
The computer industry is the one bright spot in the economy at the moment.
The only bright spot of the evening was when the food arrived.
Do you fancy a spot of lunch?
I've been having a spot of bother with my car. A few spots of rain began to fall.
I spotted a police car behind us.
It can be hard for even a trained doctor to spot the symptoms of lung cancer.
Meg spotted someone coming out of the building.
Drug addicts are fairly easy to spot.
One of the station staff spotted that I was in difficulty and came to help. One of the station staff spotted that I was in difficulty and came to help. The windscreen was spotted with rain.
He spotted me 6 points, and he still won.
They won't take credit. They want spot cash.
He quoted us a spot price for the goods.